Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement. Good day, St Lucia, and welcome to a shortened version of Agriculture on the Move. My name is Phillip Sydney. Today's topic is the Market Information Organization of the Americas. And with me to discuss this program is Mr. Terry Long. Mr. Long, tell us about this program. But before this, welcome to St. Lucia.
Thank you, sir.
And welcome to the program Agriculture on the Move. Okay. Tell us about yourself.
All right, sir. I started out with this area of market information with the U.S. Department of Agriculture 40 years ago.
Oh, whoa.
Right out of college, I came from a farm background, and it was pretty apparent early on that real-time, reliable agricultural prices and supply data critical to the sector, particularly for producers.
Okay.
So for the last 40 years, that's what I've done.
Wow.
We've traveled around the world providing assistance to help other people improve the quality of information available to their ag sector, because without our ag sector, we don't have food, and without food,
that's right.
Obvious, so very important for us.
Okay, so what's the objective of this Market Information Organization of the Americas?
It is a network of institutions like the one that I lead at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I'm with Market News, our counterparts in the 33 member nations of the Americas. Our idea here is to facilitate the exchange of information in the case of the Caribbean, this interregional trade that is a focus of our governments here in this region, of your governments here. We need information. What are the products? Well, that's true for the entire hemisphere. So we want to work within the regions, but also simultaneously each of the regions of the hemisphere. So again, 33 member nations trying to improve the quality of the data that we collect, improve the ability of our ag sector customers and our ministries to use that information, and again to facilitate exchanging that information through all of the members of the group, the hemisphere, 33 nations.
Okay, market information seems to be critical, and marketing itself is also critical.
Absolutely.
It helps in terms of planning.
Sure.
Everything that we do in terms of commodity preparation is market-led.
Right.
So how is that going to assist, say, St. Lucia, because you're in St. Lucia today, okay?
Right, sure.
Why are you here in St. Lucia today?
Well, we know that if you are a small producer, or actually a producer at any location, you're often at a disadvantage with professional traders.
Okay.
They often have information that you don't have because they are actually setting the market in many cases. So without everyone having access to the same information, you as a producer are at a disadvantage. Right. And again, our idea is to level the playing field. Everyone gets the same information. The big traders, the big producers, the very small producers. Everyone gets that same information at the same time. Very leveling of the playing field, if you will.
Okay.
That's our goal in St. Lucia or any of the countries.
Okay. So today, the two-day workshop,
yes,
okay, could you give us an insight in what it is that's happening?
Well, we've been working at this concept, this network, for over 15 years, actually 16 years now. And in many ways, some of the other regions, of course, were able to align their efforts and make great progress in that 16 years. For example, Central America. They have really aligned their efforts, improved their system in practically every country. Caribbean has more nations and more diverse, their economics are different, the challenges with transportation, you don't have that in Central America. Okay. Well, we feel like the Caribbean has actually been sort of left behind. As we say, the rising tide lifts all boats.
That's right.
Well, the Caribbean is the one that's had the furthest to go and has made the least progress. Again, we're seeing that now that people recognize, as you said, the value of this information. It's important to our policy planners, it's important to the sector, important to the consumers as an end result. So again, the idea here is to give the Caribbean our focus and help them sort of catch up, lift that tide again. We've made great progress in the Andean region, tremendous progress in Central America, and we want the Caribbean to come together and build the resources they need to help their ag sector.
Okay. So are you saying, therefore, say in St. Lucia, what's a plan of action you think that we can adopt and adapt so that the farmer can access information to help plan his activities for the market?
Good question. We're working on several fronts. One of them is what we call a curriculum project, and that is to help us teach students at the main agricultural universities. In the Caribbean, we're working with the University of West Indies. Again, show people, whether they're traders or producers to be, here's how this information is collected. Here's how it's used. Let me show you how you can apply it to your planning or to your operation. So working at the university level so that our next generation of agricultural leaders will be very familiar with the value and the application of information to help them level the playing field, planning for growth and development, addressing problems such as interregional trade. And again, the second thing we're working on as a group, the Market Information Organization of the Americas, and this is particularly relevant for the Caribbean nations, is we've developed or are developing the final stages of a cloud-based database. For small countries that have limited resources, they have not been able to build a sophisticated system to capture, store, and make publicly available good, timely information. Good, timely, and reliable information.
That is important. Correct.
So we are working with a number of countries, many of the countries in the Caribbean, to build this central platform that actually sits on the cloud, and all you have to do is enter the data for your country. And as we're building it, it'll enable you to, as this region, to pull out data, said, okay, carambola in St. Lucia were this much, over in TT they were this much, so that I can get a regional perspective, besides just my own country. For many of these countries, they don't have sort of the front-end hardware to feed that system. So our idea is to build this cloud so you have this database, your country can use it. We have to identify ways for you to get the front end in each country. Some countries are very advanced. Trinidad, for example, say case of St. Lucia, we need to improve the ability of our data collectors to get the data, get it quickly and correctly, and then get it into the system so we can aggregate it up, check it, and then push it out quickly. So we built this cloud-based database for everyone that is free out of the box to you. In fact, this is something we think could have implications and applications in other parts of the world. So here we'll build this in our region of the world, then we'll offer it for free to anyone else. The challenge is getting the training and the hardware on the front end on a country-by-country basis.
That's what that's coming to.
So our next focus in developing a strategy is, okay, who are our partners that will help us complete the front end in St. Lucia? We have partners that, that say, oh, I can see that end result having great value to our nation. What do we need to get the front end going? Because the back end is usually the biggest cost and the most challenging. We're going to have done that. So we're pretty excited, and that's kind of the focus here is, okay, what have we done so far? How does my country, St. Lucia, take advantage of it? And what's that next step look like?
Exactly.
So we're focusing a lot on those next steps. Exactly.
Okay, so the next steps will be, for example, the training of people. In other words, to access the information and then pass on that information to the relevant agencies that would be needing it for tabulation, and then everybody else will get that information. In other words, I'm seeing sort of market link, a linkage between St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenada, and how are we able to, in other words, if St. Lucia is dominant in a particular commodity, St. Vincent is, and then how can we trade together and export together?
Exactly. And I mentioned the curriculum project, and I was talking about the sort of the college level training. The other part of that, there's two other parts of that. One is we envision doing short courses, like going out into the agricultural fairs that you have annually and say, hey, here's our information system, here's how you'll use it. Hands-on training of the lowest level producer, marketer,
That's right.
So you have that short courses, we call them. Let me show you what we have, and this is what we built, and this is how you can use it.
Right.
And then the second part of that, or the third part of that, would be continuing education for these kids come out of college. They're now the assistant director of marketing. We want to do continuing education because technology changes, the amount of information we changes. This linkage between the markets of your region is soon to be available. So we've got to keep training these marketers as we improve and add new facets or new technologies. We want to show them. So again, curriculum project focused on universities, short courses for producers, and continuing education for professionals in marketing.
Right.
So fairly comprehensive.
Very. Okay, so at the end of the 2-day workshop, I think what next? What do you take it to?
Well, that's kind of one of the main focuses of the workshop. There is, what are the next steps specific to this region?
Yes.
Now we will come together as a hemisphere in October of next year in Argentina. By then, the cloud base should be up and fully operational, and we should be thinking about, okay, now what are our next steps to enhance this and move on to those next levels,
That's right.
whatever they are.
That's right.
So,
Any final words, sir?
well, I'm excited about the progress I've seen in the Caribbean. In the very early years, the only participant from the Caribbean was the Dominican Republic.
Okay.
Well, now I think we have 13 Caribbean members of OIMA. So it's pretty exciting, the progress that's been made. And as a member, as a chair, the executive committee has made a commitment that the Caribbean is our focus in terms of sort of catching up. So for the next few years, we're going to be seeing a lot of what we think will be positive and beneficial work in the region.
Great. Mr. Long, thank you for being
Thank
on
you,
the
sir.
program. And
Thank you.
Welcome again to St.
Thank you.
Lucia. You've been watching Agriculture on the Move. I've been speaking with Mr. Terry Long, who is involved in the marketing organization of the Americas. Thank you for viewing, and of course, agriculture is our business, and eat fresh, St. Lucia's best. I'm Phillip Sydney saying goodbye and see you again.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.